Hey all, and welcome back to Fuzzy Ducksy Gaming, and another update on the Lightning Strike build. So we're into sort of day 6 now. I have to say before we get onto the build, I'm loving the diversity of the league, and you can literally farm whatever mechanic you want, and you can make money. I don't really ever boss. I sell most of the fragments that I get. I've done a bit of bossing to unlock stuff, and I did start doing it, but to me, it's not that fun. So I literally sell all of my invitations, I sell all of my frags, I don't boss at all, I just map. And you might be the opposite. You might be like, I just like bossing, so I'm going to buy all the fragments and I'm going to buy all the invitations and stuff like that. So we'll go through the gear shortly. I also want to explain how I acquired or crafted the gear. So the footage in the background is a 3-orb Delhi map. It's got Scarabs, Sextants, and Exile influence. And as you can see, we end up with 2 Delhi bosses and they get absolutely shredded. I'll be honest, I didn't even realise the second boss had spawned. I was too busy looking at what the mods were. On a pylon that popped up. As soon as I noticed he was there, he went down pretty quickly. Now, I've adjusted my skill tree slightly because on bosses, when I've got all my flasks up, I'm pretty much crit capped. I think I'm like 95%. So due to this, I dropped the crit nodes at the top of the tree. I also dropped the leech nodes, and I dropped a couple of nodes I was taking for a little bit of evasion and some resistances, which has allowed me to path up to the small claw wheel with attack speed. Because my base is quite low in terms of attack speed, it doesn't feel that great, but with these nodes added, it feels much, much better. My Lethal Pride Jewel has got lots of life on it, but it's only got 1 double damage mod, so I would like to re-roll that soon. Now, this version of the build is still the evasion version. It does not have determination in the build yet, and it already feels really, really tanky. I will eventually switch over to determination and grace, but it's quite a costly switch. So for now, my defenses are 77% max resistances, 24% physical damage taken as fire, got ghost shrouds, endurance charges, and very high evasion. When our flask are up and blind is on, it's about 85% chance to evade, which is really good. Now, I'm up to 95 and fairly comfortably going along with XP towards 96. I think probably once I hit that, I might struggle to get 97 without determination, because you're always going to get the odd spike in damage, or you don't realize that, there's some mega degen on the ground. And I'm not someone who likes to pay for carries. I like to get levels myself. I've never got a character to 100 because it's just not something that's one of my aims. 97 is the most I'll ever look to push a character on my own. And then that's it, because you just have to be a bit careful about map mods you run and stuff like that. And in softcore, I don't want to have to do that. Now, DPS wise, with all the buffs up and the Vol Lightning Strikes down, I'm at about 10 million DPS. Luckily, without Flask or Varskills, I'm still at about 3 million, which feels really, really nice. My crit chance is only about 78% without Flasks, but I only need the extra damage on bosses, so for burst damage with Flasks, I'm almost crit capped. Now, you do have a chance to gain power charges with the quality on Assassin's Mark, but it's only a 5% chance, so 1 in 20 hits, so you're not guaranteed to maintain that on bosses unless they literally just stand still. I still need to catalyst up all my gear, but I only want to do this when I know I'm going to keep the item long term, because it can be quite expensive. So that's enough of me waffling about the build. Let's go on to the items, and I'll go through each one individually, just say whether I bought it, how much it was for, and if I didn't buy it, how did I craft it. So we'll start with the claw. This is a fractured Gemini claw. It was only 2x because it's quite a low attack speed in terms of a fracture. It's 23%. So I bought the base because it's really what I could afford at the time. And then because I farm essences, I've got an absolute bucket load of every single essence. So I just used Deafening Essences of Wrath until I hit something decent that was either the finished article or with an annul I could then multi-mod. And I think this rolled with plus mana or something, and I managed to annul it off. So then I multi-modded Crit Chance and Ellie Pen. So overall the claw was about 6x to craft. I really should have checked trade first. I have no idea if you can get one better, cheaper. It was kind of a brain dead moment. I just went ahead with the crafting without really looking what I might be able to buy for the same amount of money. The helmet's dirt cheap in terms of the base. I think it was about 10C because I've only got +2 pierce. I've just rolled loads and loads of different Eldritch mods looking for Fizz taken as fire, which we got. And then I've spent 1x crafting Fizz taken as fire on the helmet. So this helmet alone gives me 14% physical taken as fire, and then just life and resistances. If you didn't need the Fizz taken as fire, this helmet is dirt cheap to craft. The amulet, I just wanted to get some DPS at the amulet. So I've got intelligence, cold damage to attacks, and high rolls on crit chance and crit multi. I think I just essence spam this with the critical ones, but you could just look to buy this from trade. I can't imagine it's mega bucks. And then for now, we've just got Divine Judgment Anointed. The shield I bought, I think it was 1x, because I wanted something with high life. I needed fire resistance at the time. I wanted 30% ailment avoidance, and I wanted +2 all maximum resistances. I'm pretty sure it was an X that I paid for the shield. We've gone to Mark of the Elder now. We've switched away from the ring that we had before, the Taming, and we've gone Mark of the Elder and then a Shaper ring to pair with it. The Shaper ring, I think the base was 2x, and then I've just spammed any attack essences I could. So the crit multi one and flat damage. Ended up with the crit multi one that we got this, which is decent enough for me for now. I'm now going to move on to the gloves because it's the one item I get a lot of questions about. And I think a few people are going about crafting it the wrong way or aren't quite sure how to go about crafting the item. So the mod that you're looking for is an Exile mod, and it's strike additional target, one additional nearby enemy. So there's basically two ways to get this. You either spam, which I would do lesser because they're cheaper, spam Exile ones on here until you get it, but there's such a big bloated mod pool, it might cost you more than an X to hit the mod. A pair of evasion-based gloves with this mod on are about 1x. So what I would recommend doing is I ended up crafting it, but through pure luck very early in the league. If it was now and I didn't have it, I'll buy an evasion base of 1x. Does not matter what the second mod is. The only one that matters is strikes additional target. And ideally, you don't want it to be a high level mod. You want it to be as low as possible. And I'll come on to this in a moment. Because we're never going to try and push these gloves to +2. These are just +1 gloves to see you through to very, very end game when you might want +2. The reason we want a low mod is we're going to manipulate the crafting to make it much easier to craft a really, really good pair of gloves. So let's say I've just bought these off trade. They've got strike, one additional nearby enemy, and something to do with spell damage that's no good whatsoever. What I'm going to do is I'm going to use a Eldritch item on it, but not a lesser, because I want this item to be dominated by the Eater of Worlds. So we'd use a greater, we'd roll it, and let's say we did hit that one, and we hit accuracy rating per frenzy charge. This now makes the item dominated by the Eater of Worlds, which means any of these currencies that we use are going to affect suffixes only, and this is really handy. So what you would do for crafting is you would go into your essences that you've all been farming, because I mentioned how good they are. You're going to go to your Deafening Essences of Greed, and you're going to hit it on the item. And whatever you want for prefixes, whether you're looking for lots of evasion or you want some flat damage along with your life, just roll them until you get a set of prefixes you're happy with for your gloves. Then obviously if you then hit suffixes that are great, your gloves are finished. But likelihood is you're going to have suffixes that are terrible. You might have 10% fire res, 2% life recovered on, just terrible mods that you don't want. And that's where the other Eldritch currencies come in handy. Now they are getting more expensive. You basically got 3 orbs. A Chaos Orb, which I don't have any of, so I've used them, will reroll all of your suffixes. An Almond will remove one, and an Exalt will add one. One thing I have noticed, and I don't think it's luck because it happens every single time, is if you re-roll with Chaos, if you've only got one suffix, it'll only ever re-roll one suffix. It doesn't add a random amount. Unless I've been super unlucky, but I did about 10 in a row being stupid when I only had one suffix, and every single time I just got one suffix. So if your item gets crafted and it's got empty suffixes, stick an Exalt on it until it hits 6. And then really you're just looking to use the Chaos Orbs to re-roll the suffixes on your gloves until you get something that you're happy with. So what I did was I had 2 suffixes, so I rolled it, and then that would leave me with an open suffix. Now, as I don't know if this is 100% how it works, it's just the fact that every time I've used one of these Chaos Orbs, it gives me the exact same number of suffixes that I've already got. And you're just looking for, whatever you want to hit, whether it be attack speed, resistances, whatever you want, spell suppression. And that's how I crafted these gloves. Now, the Chaos Orbs are getting pretty expensive. I think they were 15C when I bought them. They might even be more now. The annulments and the exalts are cheaper, but you'd have to use more of them, and they're probably not quite as efficient. But let's say, you spent an X on, say, 10 of these Chaos Orbs. You're going to get a decent roll within them 10 Chaos Orbs, and you've then got a really good pair of gloves with T1 life, loads of resistances, suppression, whatever you want to go for. And then at that point, when you're happy with the gloves, you can then start re-rolling this other mod. And you could use lesser if you want, because we're not going to manipulate these gloves again until you get another implicit that you're happy with. And that's how I went about crafting the gloves. I'm not saying it's the best way. I'm not a crafter. It's just the way that I did it. The Stygian Vise, I just spammed essences that give resistances, but not the lightning ones because I wanted them for claws. So it was essences of hatred and anger on this until I got a decent life roll. Luckily, this had an open suffix, so I could craft LE damage. In the belt, I've got a jewel with blind on hit, life, and a bit of damage. The boots are something I bought really early on for next to nothing. I think they were 5 or 10C. I just needed a pair of boots because I was still running the ones from the campaign. Ignore the mods. These aren't necessarily ones I would say you would want, but cold resistance actually helps me at the minute, so I'm not going to re-roll them. And that's kind of all the gear I've got. I've also recrafted my flasks, other than this one, to get some better stats on them because they make a massive difference. So I've got evasion on my Jade flask, I've got crit chance on my Diamond flask, and I've dropped my Quicksilver flask because movement speed is nice, but when you whirl in blades most of the time, it doesn't have that much effect. So I've re-rolled this to get some extra attack speed. And just these 3 mods on the flask give me a ridiculous boost to DPS, something like 15% increased DPS. And then the last item to come on to is the chest. And this is the same chest that I would have crafted last league and most people did. I've gone a slightly different route, which is more expensive because I wanted Fizz taken as fire. So what this chest is as you can see by the pictures on top, it's a Hunter and Warlord double influence chest. So I bought a Hunter 6-link base. I think it was 80C. Then whenever I got Harvest, I just did 1 Harvest craft, which was attack or crit, and you're guaranteed to get the crit chance mod. I waited until I had it T1 and I didn't have any other influence mods on it. I then went to trade and bought a chest with just the game 1 endurance charge and then awakened them all together and was left with a base that was, it was recover 6% life on kill, it had endurance charge, it had attacks, and it had like just a junk prefix from what I remember. So then because I wanted Fizz as fire, this cost me a bit more. I had to 2x craft suffixes cannot be changed and then re-roll fire in Harvest, and I hit Fizz taken as fire. Now this was the only mod I got, I believe. So what I then did to try and get lucky is Exile slammed it because I wanted to hit life and I didn't. I hit physical damage to melee attacks, which is annoying because it's the lowest weighted mod available on a prefix for a chest. Like anything else would have been better. Like even if I got evasion, percent evasion, at least it helps. This reflects 10 physical damage is the worst mod to ever exist. And it is really rare. So to roll it was a bit unlucky. So I was then left with a choice of do I craft life or max energy shield and take ghost dance. And in terms of effective HP, there's no comparison. You can bench, 85, or you can get 10% maximum life as extra energy shield. I'm only doing that because this is my way of getting around determination for now. If I have 25% of my physical damage hitting me received as fire, then it makes it more likely that I'm going to survive a big hit. If you don't need to do that section. You would just awaken or orbit, see what happens. If you've got an open prefix, you craft, that's it. Chest done. And then the next stage is, as I say, I want to get an All's Amulet with either anger or determination is free. And then I can stick in determination as an aura, start rejigging the gear a bit to get some armor in. And then I've got a character that can pretty much do anything in the game and should survive most things other than the odd ridiculous burning ground that some of the Exile mods drop. And that's really it. There's not much more to go through. Probably won't bring out another update until I've fully finished the character, spent my whatever silly money I want to spend on it, 50, 100x, whatever it is. Then add a headhunter in, and then that's going to be like the build that can do everything for me and farm currency to make new builds. So before we close off the video, I just wanted to show you my passive tree because people have been asking for it. And I've changed it hundreds of times and wasted pretty much all my Orb of Unmakings on it. And I've tried loads of different things. The only thing I keep consistent, I think the map nodes are still quite important. Because even with these, I would say sustain's fine. I am over sustaining, but I have a feeling if I dropped all of the map nodes, I might struggle. I've tried Breach, which is awful. Like, yeah, you get a lot of breaches, but nothing's worth any money. I tried Harvest, and although it's nice, I didn't feel that they were worth spending the points on. So all I've decided now for my character is I just want a map. So I've taken both these Eater and Exile nodes, and then I've taken all of the Delirium nodes other than these because I can't afford them yet. I think I've only got about 1 skill point left to get on the tree. So I might have to drop stuff to get this last one in, but it's 3% chance for maps to have layers of Delirium. I'm not that fussed about that. And then the other ones are increased chance to get cluster jewels, and cluster jewels aren't really worth anything in this league unless you get really specific ones. So I've just gone for the ones that add like bosses. I've gone for the one where you've got more chance to get a mirror. And then there is another node, if we have a look. These nodes here where Delirium increases more the further away you get from the mirror. Basically makes it tons harder, but much more rewarding. And these are the nodes that push your splinters to like 100, 200 drops in a map. I'm not saying this is a great tree. This is just what I'm doing. I'm still up here. I did take all of this boss row here, but I don't really do boss maps. I don't find them that profitable for me. So I'll be unspecking all of these, and then that means I can either fit that extra Delirium in, or we might be able to get some nodes somewhere else that benefit the build. And that's really it for this update. I know it's very rambly, but I wanted to go through the gear because I'm getting so many questions about where'd you get your gear? How did you craft it? How do I get that? How are you level 95? How are you not dying? Just loads of different questions. So I thought I'd just address as many as I could in this video. I think next will probably be some videos of just hour-long farming sessions. So in 3.15, I did a series where we took a week and we did an hour farming a different strategy each week. It's a bit more difficult to do in this league because it would mean respecking all of your skill tree, which is obviously super inefficient cost-wise. So what I might look to do is maybe try some strategies that aren't dependent on specific mechanics. And then we'll maybe also do a session where we purely just farm essences and do essence crafting. But the series worked out really well and was quite popular when I did it, where we just took a day covering a farming method, then another down a different one. And it just gives you a few different varieties of methods that you can use to not, burn out or get bored. But I'll let you get on because this video has gone on way too long already. As always, thanks for watching. Take care and see you in the next video.